say, Tarkin, over, you know, of the other colors wearing, of Thrawn, of Boba Fett. Although Thrawn definitely could be an interesting one here as well. But yeah, so that's Palpatine. And here is the deck list of what I've been playing with so far. There's already some changes that, you know, we'll talk about, but I at least wanted to post what I've been playing with and what I did play with. I believe Tuesday posted a video on our YouTube channel displaying this deck, and this is what I ran with it. So we got 3 Greedo, 3 Yularen, 3 Bib, and 3 Mahdi as our turn 1s. Obviously, you don't really want to play Mahdi as your turn 1, but if you are going first, you play Mahdi, and then turn 2, you play Royal Guard. It's at least not the worst, but still not an ideal start. Obviously, against like aggro, you want to see a Greedo, and then other times you want to see Bib, because then there's some fun plays that you can kind of create. And the rest of the package, it just looks like yellow, yellow-green villain, right? We're prioritizing the Royal Guard over the cell block because we have Palpatine. That's why we brought in Yularen. That's why we have Mahdi. And then Palp himself is official as well. We have our usual ramp. We've got 7 Fleet as really our only space option to try to stall stuff down. You know, you got Waylay, and now we got Jabba, Obi, Bosk, Vader, and Devastator. And my favorite card, I'm Your Father. So we're going to talk about like kind of how this deck operates, what you're looking to do. But for me, this is at least a good starting point. There's definitely, again, some changes, some things that I'm looking at that I would likely want to make space for. But we'll get into that. So the essentials of the deck, these 4 cards really help make the deck what it is. And that is Sneak Attack, that's Devastator, that's Jabba the Hutt, and that's Bib Fortuna. So if you don't know what Sneak Attack is, it's a 2-cost yellow event. It's a trick, which is important for Jabba. And it says play unit from your hand, it costs 3 less, and enters play ready. At the start of the regroup phase, defeat it. So just straight up, at 9 resources, you could cheat in Devastator. Right, and it comes in a turn early, but then it does die. But the Devastator is really good. It's a space unit, green villain. It's a 10-10. It's got Sentinel. It's got Overwhelm, and a when play that says you may deal damage to a unit equal to the number of resources you control. So in this deck, it's more likely 7 or 8 that you're dealing, as compared to just dropping it on 10 and dealing 10 to something. But 7 or 8 pretty much kills everything, especially at those turns. So you're going to be able to blow something up and then overwhelm if they have a Sentinel in space or anything like that. But the important part here is that ideally we're not doing that at 9 resources. We're going to do it with Jabba and Bib. And so Jabba helps in both aspects, in that he just has a passive ability that says each trick event you play costs 1 less, which counts towards Sneak Attack. So if he's in play, it costs 1. And then he also has a when played that he searched the top 8 cards of your deck for a trick event, reveal it, and draw it. And then, as with all search events, you shuffle them, put them in a random order, and put them on the bottom of your deck. And then, of course, we have Bib, who's our 2-drop, and he's got a few tricks that you can do with him, but he's a villain, cunning, ground unit, 1/3. He comes in shielded, so he is going to live a decent amount. And also, he's got that 3 health, so things like make an opening don't just totally destroy him. But he's got an action, exhaust him, play an event from your hand. It costs 1 less. So as you can see, if you have Bib out, if you have Jabba out, if you do Bib's action to play an event from your hand, making it cost 1 less, exhausting him, Sneak Attack now costs 1. If Jabba's out, that's just a passive full-time effect for tricks. So Sneak Attack would cost 0. So you could pay 0 for Sneak Attack, make Devastator cost 3 less, so you would only have to pay 7 resources to bring out the Devastator. And this will blow up any leaders that are out. This will blow up, again, some of those other big 7 drops. You know, you're not going to get Chewie. You're not going to get Darth Vader or anything like that. But if it's ever a situation like that, you can definitely just clean them up with Jabba afterwards as well. So these are the main 4 cards of what we're trying to like get going within the deck. And there's a lot of good supporting cards, obviously, within green-yellow villain as well. And so here's just some other parts of the core deck. You know, we mentioned Yularen and Mahdi and Royal Guard, and they just all kind of go together. The Royal Guard is one of the best cards in the game, in my opinion, within a Palp deck. Outside of it, can get a little bit trickier to get the effectiveness. Just being a 3/5 Sentinel is for 30 is absolutely insane. And Yularen's really good. And what we're really trying to do with this deck too is combo a little bit. So Mahdi can help us do that as well. You know, if we're able to get him out into play. And so, you know I talked about the Devastator at 7, but I've enjoyed it the most at 8 and playing like Vader on 7 to bring out a Mahdi, and then going into the next turn and doing sneak attack that way and having Mahdi on the board. It can make for some pretty much one-turn kill. You might do 20 damage that turn if your stars align. Your opponent might have to be sleeping for it to align like that, but it's fun nonetheless. And then, of course, we have the Laser Technician and Resupply because our leader comes out at 8, and we would like to get there a little bit faster for that. And like I said, Vader is just one of the best cards in the game, 5/7, ambush, and the flexibility of him being able to pull whatever you might need in that moment. Maybe you do need to find Bib. Maybe you do want a Royal Guard to, get some Sentinel with. Or maybe you're ready to pull off the combo and you're just going to bring out Mahdi. And so there's some good options there for him pulling with that. So that's kind of the normal core, but again, nothing surprising for a Palpatine deck. And then here's just some of the other solid parts. If you rip this and you're like, I don't necessarily love these cards, I'd rather swap Greedo out for the 2/2 shielded, or something along those lines. Or I don't want to play Bosk, I'd rather play the Syndicate lackeys, the 5/4 ambush to make sure I kill Sabine in that matchup or something like that. Like, there's definitely some leeway with these cards that I can see. Overwhelming Barrage probably should be on the previous slide. As you all know, it's just a really good card. Defines Green Villain. You're going to get a lot of value, and then even be able to play it for 4 with Bib out. Not on Bib, that would not be the greatest Overwhelming Barrage, but you get what I'm saying. And then like Waylay and I'm Your Father are good. Have a high chance of being removal, and if they do say no to I'm Your Father, card draw in this deck is key. If you even go watch our game on Tuesday, my game against Brian, he was on Chewbacca command, he ends up saying no, and then I draw into 2 Devastators, so then I claim, or he does like another action, then I claim, and then I just open sneak attack the Devastator, and his thing dies anyways. So it was really funny to see that happen, and I think you're content with either way of this card. If you're dealing 7 to kill a threatening unit, or if you're drawing 3 for a control deck that's trying to combo something, is going to be pretty good, right? Some of these other control decks don't really care about what specific cards they necessarily have in their hand, so they don't really need that card draw as much. Card draw is still always good, though. Like I said, 7th Fleet is just, you need something in space, and Yellow-Green doesn't really have a lot of amazing options. Do not like the TIE Fighter, don't like stuff like the Outer Rim Headhunter, or whatever this might be. This just trades well into those A-Wings, those red 3s, etc. So I like a lot to help with that. And then Bosk is funny because he actually has synergy with all these events we're playing. With Sneak Attack, he can help deal 2 damage to something. Right, OB onto him would be 6, how you can pick it, and then he can also deal 2 more as well, so that's always like a good follow-up to him. But he does die a lot because you're usually ambushing him in to kill something. Then Greedo's just one of the better 1-drops, their turn 1 plays in the game. Just able to trade into every 2-drop, 1 and 2-drop, and then also getting some pretty good reach. Being able to kill some 3-drops outright, and then again, that extra 2 damage can help him get those 4 and 5 drops as well. So yeah, those are the solid parts. And then these are kind of the things at the edge. I've got a 1 No Good to Me Dead. I've got a 1 Cell Block, but in reality, you probably could just drop both those and put in 2 Boba Fett's. Boba Fett's an amazing card. We all know that. Pulling him off of Vader is always going to be a really good play as well. And just behind my shoulder, you can see I Am Your Father. And again, this is a card that I really like, but I could see you're just like, Jack, that really isn't worth it. It really isn't something that I want to be playing. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I'd rather just put actual direct removal in, or, whatever it might be in there. And I would understand that. But some of these other cards that you could consider putting into the deck, the first one on top I do have is Recruit. There were times where I was getting a little nervous. I did my Vaders and I sent some Devastators to the bottom of my deck, so having something like a Recruit where you could make sure you have the Devastator when you do want it could be pretty good. You almost could look at it as like a 4th, there's quotes for anybody just listening, the air quotes, 4th Devastator in the deck. I wouldn't run too many, but maybe one, maybe 2 would be pretty good for you. Escort Skiff, I've started to like, simply because it can help clear up the boards pretty fast, and you do have some early greens that you're going to play with Yularen, and then either a Royal Guard or Laser Tech, and then having that option to Escort Skiff in ambush to kill something is pretty nice. We don't have ECL, so ambush units to help stabilize the board faster can be a little bit more of a premium for us than maybe other decks. And then we got Viper Probe Droid, really good early card, helps see what they have so you know what's coming. And then also just, again, similar to Greedo, it's got that 3 attack, so it can trade into pretty much everything. And the advantage of the Probe Droid over Greedo, potentially, is that Probe Droid can be ripped off of Vader, which is always nice. We still have plenty of targets in there, right? We got Laser Tech, Royal Guard, Bib, and 7th Fleet, and the 1 cell block. So there's definitely some things that we can grab. I'm not too worried about the numbers for Vader, but it is worth considering anyways. And then Cunning's interesting. Vigilance, if you've seen, especially watching TCG player prices, Vigilance has been shooting up. People have been using it more, testing with it more outside of double blue decks. So you see it in like Iden decks, green and red. I've been testing it in Churret as well. And so I do think Cunning is probably the other double aspect that's worth looking at. I don't love Aggression and don't love Command, paying 6 for them, but Cunning can definitely be pretty good. It's weird because a mid-range deck, a tempo deck, is what wants to play that, and a control deck can kind of be a little bit weird, but you definitely can get some good hits of returning something, and then maybe discarding or exhausting some stuff. There's definitely some play in there for that. So those are some cards that I would personally consider if you are looking to change up some things, and I'd love to hear your feedback if you think there's something that I'm missing. And then here's just some like fun play lines that I have experienced within the game. And it, depending on the deck that you're going against, is going to dictate a lot of how you do want to play that, right? This bottom line is really fun of going against other ramp. Of Bib Fortuna into turn 2, exhausting him to resupply for 2, and then play a Greedo, then play Jabba to make sure you have a trick, and then being able to do like a Waylay and a Laser Tech, and then coming up with Vader after that can be really good. Or, you know, sometimes you're going against aggro, so you need to make sure you get a official down. So you go Yularen into Royal Guard, into 7th Fleet, into Bosk and OB, and you can have some really good blowout turns. And right, the awkward part of this deck is that like our 4-drops aren't necessarily the best, and even like our 5s aren't too crazy for us. So there's going to be turns where you might play undervalue, but it also is good because then you can keep up that resource for the Palpatine ping if you would need it. And also, especially as you go in a late game, having that extra resource float to then ping stuff, to then be able to steal whatever you want, can be very threatening for your opponent. But these are some plays that I always found interesting. Bib Fortuna into resupply with a Greedo has been some of my favorite turn 1 and 2. And there's some other interesting things. You know, you can sneak attack a Super Laser Tech turn 1. I don't know that I love it, but there's definitely some ways that you can look for that. So this is just a really fun deck. If you're going early, these are some of the play lines that you can try to mulligan for, to keep. But again, it's really going to depend against what you're playing against, right? If you go Bib and a resupply and Greedo and a Jabba and a Laser Tech and Waylay against Sabine, you might be losing. But the Yularen with the Royal Guard and 7th Fleet, Bosk, and OB could be a better play line for you to help kind of trade out some of those things. And then, you know, OB on Bosk for essentially 8 damage onto the board is going to be really, really powerful. And you'll be able to clean up a lot of stuff then. But you got to get to that point. You got to get to turn 6, or 6 resources. Because, right, you play Bosk on 5, and then it's the next turn that you can OB for that. But yeah, so that's some of the stuff that I've been playing with. This deck has been a lot of fun for me. I encourage you to give it a try, and would love to hear your feedback of what you've been playing, what changes you might make, and where you're at and the success you might have with this at your weeklies. Like I said, it's maybe not something that you bring to the Florida 5K on Sunday, but this certainly is a deck that I'm really enjoying. And I did write an article about it on deployyourleader.com. So if you're interested on that as well, like reading about it, I have this deck. I wrote about Han, and Han like space deck, and I wrote about U-Wing Reinforcement with Hera, but also U-Wing Reinforcement in general. Just kind of cards that I like to play with. But yeah, I'm having a blast with Sneak Attack. Encourage you guys to try it out, and catch you all next time.